Hello, Chris Green here with the Flood Insurance Guru, and today we're talking about Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And we're talking about NFIP Risk Rating 2.0, what we call the fingerprint of flood risk and flood insurance going forward for the federal government. You know, this new program is going to be looking at a lot of different things than just what a flood zone is, whether you're in a flood zone A or VE, and here's your rate. You know, it's going to look at things like distance to water, replacement cost, some other factors like water source. So it's important to understand if, especially live in the Fort Lauderdale area, because we know Florida has a history of flooding. So today we're going to talk about some things that are staying the same. We're going to talk about impacts on premiums, when all these changes you can expect coming to Fort Lauderdale. So let's talk about what's staying the same with this program. We're talking about things like policy assumptions, newly mapped rates, grandfather policies. You know, these are all things that are staying the same. So what about premiums? Well, let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the bad. Good news is more than 20% of property owners in Fort Lauderdale that currently have a flood insurance policy through the National Flood Insurance Program could see decreases right away. That's great news. Bad news is more than 70% of people could see increases right away with this new program. So do you have to enter this new program right away if you have a current policy? Depends when your renewal is. If your renewal is before April 1st, 2022, then you should be able to wait to the following renewal if you see that it's going to have a negative impact. But you could enter it right away. Now, it's also important to understand that if you're taking out a new policy of this program, that as of right now, the National Flood Insurance Program is saying that elevation certificates may not necessarily be required in order to get a quote, which we know on post-firm structures, traditionally, you couldn't do a quote before through the National Flood Insurance Program without an elevation certificate that was in a special flood hazard area. Does this mean it's going to be a great rate? No. It just means you might be able to actually get a quote from an insurance agent. But remember, even if you get a quote, you want to make sure that that insurance agent can help you understand what your actual flood risk is. What is your flood score? These are all things important to understand in mitigating the risk of your property flooding. So if you've got questions about these changes coming to Fort Lauderdale, what you can do, click below to visit our website, floodinsuranceguru.com. Remember, we have an educational background on flood mitigation, which means we can help you understand flood risk like this right here. Your flood insurance and mitigating your property long term. Thank you.